Midgley.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for granting this debate, and I'd like to refer members to my register of interests and member of Unite the Union. I've spent my life in the trade union movement, so it's no surprise that my first adjournment debate focuses on the principle of collective bargaining. A dispute in my constituency appears to expose a gap in legislation where an employer can offer pay increases exclusively to non-union workers, an unacceptable practice that can be exploited by employers, not just in Knowsley, but across the country. So if I can turn to the particular case, Live Housing, the largest housing association in my constituency, manages 13,000 homes across Liverpool and the North West. And as of March 2024, Live reported reserves of £110.6 million. Over the past 5 years, they've recorded annual surpluses from £14 million to £25 million. And yet, the workers who keep Live running have faced years of real terms pay cuts. Pay has fallen by over 30% in real terms since 2011. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's no wonder that Unite and Unison member have been taking industrial action since October last year. Live has refused to engage in meaningful discussions with the unions, but at the same time has declared the negotiations exhausted. The stonewalling has prolonged this dispute, and it's evident from my inbox that it's having an impact on my constituents who depend on Live services. The casework load involving Live is mounting up and having a bad effect on people's lives. Nothing is getting fixed because management won't sit down and settle this dispute. In December, Live wrote to all staff saying they could have a 5% pay rise if they replied in writing to confirm that they were not a member of a trade union. I have the email here, and it says, if you are a non-union member and would like to accept the pay award offer of 5%, please can you send your confirmation of your acceptance and confirming that you are a non-union member. A one-line email to confirm you wish to receive the pay award and that you are not a union member will be enough. Madam Deputy Speaker, this practice is completely contrary to the spirit of the 2004 Employment Relations Act, which looked to protect workers' collective voice and stop inducement and practices like these. But some employers just keep trying to find a way around these protections, and we have got to put a stop to it. Madam Deputy Speaker, I have personally written to the CEO of Live on multiple occasions, urging them to engage constructively with the unions and seek a fair resolution. But Live CEO Leanne Hearn has gone so far to inform me that she will no longer engage with me in writing. I've written to them and asked them to bring an end to this dispute. Our Mayor, Steve Rotherham, has written to them and asked them to solve the dispute. And Knowsley Council has passed a motion asking them to get around the table and solve the dispute with the unions. This is all any of us want, especially the workers currently in dispute. But instead of doing this, Live has focused its efforts on undermining collective bargaining. We all know that workers get the best deal when they collectively bargain for pay and conditions. The strength of workers standing together is the only thing that can balance the power of an employer. And this is why, over the years, bad employers have done everything they can to undermine the ability of workers to collectively bargain. Some in this House will remember the 2021 case of Costill and Dunkley, where the employer tried to undermine collective voice of Unite workers before talks had been exhausted. They made direct offers to the workforce, informing staff that they would not receive the Christmas bonus if they did not accept it by a deadline. Does it sound familiar? Like Live, they thought they'd found a loophole in the law. This was unanimously rejected by the Supreme Court. Lord Leggett in the ruling said that such conduct denies the union its seat at the table and does not allow the union's voice to be heard. And today, Live Housing is doing just that. What this behaviour does is create a two-tier workforce, pitting colleagues against each other. Imagine going into a workplace with a culture like that. And if some employers can get away with this, then you can get other employers will follow. Madam Deputy Speaker, it was Winston Churchill who said, "The trade unions are a long-established and essential part of our national life. We take our stand by these pillars of our British society as it has gradually developed and evolved itself, of the right of individual labouring men and women to adjust their wages and conditions by collective bargaining, including the right to strike." Madam Deputy Speaker, I understand the Minister can't comment on individual disputes, but this is clearly something that can be exploited by employers across the country. And the Employment Rights Bill provides a clear opportunity to close this loophole that we thought was closed so long ago. So can I ask the Minister to commit to looking at an amendment to the bill to stop employers seeking to undermine collective bargaining by offering non-union members preferential treatment in pay awards, and update me on plans? Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
I call Minister Justin Madders.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I start by thanking my honourable friend, the member for Knowsley, for tabling the debate and for her excellent speech. She has a very long and proud record in the trade union movement, which she has brought to the fore with her interventions today. I want to start by setting out the government's approach to the important subject of industrial relations. We want employers and trade unions to come together to grow our economy. We know that the world of work is fairer and more productive when people can come together to negotiate fair pay and decent conditions. That is why we are resetting industrial relations through the Employment Rights Bill. We're repealing nearly every part of the Trade Union Act 2016, which tried to smother trade unions in form, filling and red tape and prevent them from doing their core job of negotiation and dispute resolution. And I will give way, yes.
Madam Deputy, can I commend the Honourable Lady for bringing this forward? I spoke to her beforehand, understand what she's trying to do, and in her contribution tonight she's very clearly outlined the case for the unions. Just want to say, whenever I started work for Henry Denny's back in Belfast and back in the early 20s of my life, they asked me did I want to join the union. To be honest with you, I wasn't sure. But when the guy said to me, look, it's a compulsory, and I said that's okay, and I'm glad. But here's the story. If I hadn't had the union on my side in Henry Denny's whenever I first started work, I had them to back me up whenever I needed something. So I was very much of a different opinion on what the unions were in relation to what they could do for you. And the Honourable Lady has outlined what unions can do. I understand it personally what they can do, and I'm looking forward very much to what the Minister is going to tell us what he's going to do.
Minister.
I'm grateful to the honourable member for his support for unions. More generally, I was a little worried when the debate started because he wasn't in his normal place, and I thought there was going to be some sort of national emergency with the honourable member for Strangford not attending the adjournment date. But I'm glad he's here, and I'm glad he spoke very positively about the benefits of joining a trade union. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'll go back to some of the work that we are doing to improve the industrial relations landscape. We are, of course, repealing the Strikes Minimum Service Levels Act 2023, which, to our mind, only increased tensions and failed to prevent a single day of industrial action. And we're going further by strengthening the voice of working people. We're making it easier for trade unions to get recognised, giving them the right to access to workplaces and making sure that they have enough time to represent their members. When the rights of working people are flouted, of course, our new Fair Work agency will also be empowered to investigate. We've recently run a consultation on modernising trade union laws so that they are fit for the modern workplace and the modern economy. That consultation closed on the 2nd of December, and we are currently analysing responses. We will publish a government response to the consultation before report stage of the Employment Rights Bill. And this is a transformative package that marks a new era for working people, and I hope that honourable members are in no doubt as to the government's commitment to marking this new way forward. A way that brings a new deal for working people, making jobs more secure and family-friendly, banning exploitative zero-hours contracts, supporting women in work at every stage in their life, a genuine living wage and sick pay for the lowest earners, as well as further and faster action to close the gender pay gap, ensuring that rights are enforced and that trade unions are strengthened, repealing anti-worker, anti-union laws, turning the page on industrial relations and ending fire and rehire, whilst also giving people the basic rights that they deserve at work from day one. This is a pro-business, pro-worker, pro-growth bill and a pro-business, pro-worker, pro-growth government. Now, turning, Madam Deputy Speaker, to the specifics of this debate. As we know, a range of protections exist for workers against inducements and detriment relating to trade union membership or activities. Of those, I'll just mention 3 which may be relevant to this particular situation. Section 146 of the Trade Union and Labour Relations Consolidation Act 1992 protects workers against detriment being imposed by an employer for the sole or main purpose of preventing or deterring the worker from being a trade union member or taking part in union activities, or penalising the worker for doing so. And through Clause 63 of the Employment Rights Bill, we are enhancing protections against detriment by conferring a right on workers not to be subjected to detriment for the sole or main purpose of preventing or deterring the worker from taking protected industrial action or penalising the worker for doing so. In addition, Section 145A of the Trade Union and Labour Relations Consolidation Act protects workers against offers made by the employer for the sole or main purpose of inducing the worker not to be a trade union member or not to take part in union activities. And finally, Section 145B of that Act protects members of trade unions which are recognised or seeking to be recognised by their employer against offers being made by the employer for the sole or main purpose of resulting in workers' terms and conditions not being determined by collective agreement negotiated by the union. So, as my honourable friend has indicated, we cannot comment on the extent to which existing legislation applies to a particular case. Of course, that is ultimately a matter for tribunals and courts to determine. However, I hope that it has been helpful to state clearly some of the protections that do currently exist, which may be relevant. It's also, I believe, worth me putting on the record that this government expects employers to work in partnership with unions to resolve disputes through negotiation. We certainly don't believe that pay offers should be framed in a way that requires an individual to confirm that they are not a member of a trade union. At the very least, as my honourable friend said, this goes against the spirit of good industrial relations. And I also recognise that, of course, sometimes disputes are difficult to resolve, and I'll take this opportunity to highlight the very important role that ACAS play in this space. Their remit is to promote good employment relations, advise employers and employees on workplace matters, and resolve individual and collective workplace disputes. Employees and employers in a workplace dispute may wish to contact ACAS to get advice on employment law and workplace relations and to help resolve their disputes. Of course, resolving disputes through ACAS requires both parties to participate, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it is disappointing to hear from my humble friend that not only will they not engage with her on this matter, it doesn't appear that they will engage with the trade union either. I hope they reconsider that point, because through our Make Work Pay agenda, we have been clear that it is our intention to ensure workplace rights are fit for a modern economy, empower working people and deliver economic growth. That is why we have introduced the Employment Rights Bill, which does represent the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation. And we will always listen carefully to any arguments that are put forward around how the law on inducements or detriment could be improved. And we will always welcome views on how we can reset industrial relations to create a modern framework which is fit for a modern economy and for modern work practices. So I would welcome hearing from my honourable friend some more information from her about the specifics of this issue and urge LVIV to engage with her and the trade unions. I'm certainly open to looking into more detail to understand what action, if any, is necessary in this case, and I'm always happy to work with my honourable friend to ensure that trade union rights are properly observed in this country.